All right, all right. Welcome, everybody. We're back again with another Headless's Magical Mailbag. Go ahead and like the stream, share this with your friends, get this out there. I've got a special gift from Truth and Dies. She made a obelisk t-shirt. This is from the obelisk painting that I made, and she made her version of it. It's got that nice little spiral in there as well. So I want to say thank you again to Truth and Dies.
Hell yeah.
This is amazing. Thank you so much. So, we've got a special program. I'm going to get into a little bit of why I call myself the Headless Giant tonight, because apparently that's not really well known. And Nick, you've got your symbol. Let's go with that first.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right, here we go. You even pulled it up. All right. Beautiful. All right, yeah, the symbol. That is the Jupiter, Kamea, and an angelic seal, or the planetary square is also used for that, which I will show. Maybe I should bring that up first. Well, whatever. Yeah, so the Jupiter planetary square, Kamea, and its paired angelic seals. I have covered this kind of in the past, but I didn't include the intelligences and the spirit, stuff like that. I actually think that stuff is interesting. Um, yeah, then again, now these are on a silver or brass disc that'll be shown engraved on one face with a 4x4 Jupiter square. Actually, let me get to the square now so you guys can all see that. And that is the square. That's one version of it to Hebrew. It even has the Jupiter sigil on the top. But there we go. Oh, yeah. It's a little bit better if I want to see. So it's based off of that square as well. It's a 4x4, and that is probably due to its correlation. Well, if it's, I would think the 4x4 probably would go along with the Kabbalistic fourth sphere where Jupiter would fall. But then again, as you see, this came actually from Islamic. So who knows? I could be wrong. But silver or brass disc engraved on it with the 4x4 Jupiter square, and on the other with the seal of Jupiter, plus the sigils of his intelligence and spirit. I will go back to that after you've seen this. There we go. So the one with the circle and the X in it, that's like the Jupiter sigil. And then you do also have that, the other Jupiter actual, obviously, the planetary sigil. And then you do have like the intelligences that I'll get into that now a little bit more. Yeah, the angel of Jupiter is Sachiel. Then the intelligence would be Iophel or Jophiel. And the spirit would be Hismael. Now, the magic squares weren't born in the Renaissance. They basically matured in the Islamic world, where you see them on talismanic shirts and amulets, sometimes stacked with or added with Quranic verses, or the famous, I don't know how to say this, BDUH, 3x3 square used for healing. By the later Middle Ages, they're pretty much common in Arabic handbooks. And then massive Arabic grimoire, later known in the Latin as the Picatrix. I'm sure a lot of people have heard of that. Jupiter is worked on his day and hour, crowned with incense and electional timing, which is basically the full astrological workings that Europeans will translate and use and adopt later on. The current flow kind of goes into Latin from Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa. He prints the planetary tables and seals in book 2 of his 3 books of the occult philosophy in 1533, complete with the table of Jupiter and the character seals. You have of Jupiter, of the intelligence of Jupiter, and then of the spirit of Jupiter. Agrippa's book is kind of a bridge text that like standardized how early modern magicians made and read these signs. Again, how is it used? You have that 4x4 square. That probably is what like might actually make up the way those sigils were made as well. Now, in my opinion, you might use this actual symbol right here. You would probably use it like on your altar if you were, for me, I'll just keep it on the eye. If I wanted to work with Jupiter, I would probably use this sigil, and I would be contacting this entity, this spirit. Well, actually, the intelligence. I wouldn't be messing with the spirit, because the spirit is kind of considered more of like a raw chthonic force under Jupiter, almost like a demon. The intelligence is more of like the planet or the benevolent governor that you're addressing when you're doing a ritual. and the seal is kind of just the planet's general character. I would be contacting those, probably asking it for something that has something to do with Jupiter stuff. Could be abundance, a whole bunch of the spirit. You could even go with spiritual stuff. So I would use that kind of to ask that, or you deal with that to get, I guess, where I'm trying to go. It could be used kind of like as a talisman in that sense. I would also sometimes say that, like, I could be using that talisman right there to contact, let's say, I want to contact Jaffiel or whatever, and ask it for something. This is how I would do it. Sometimes I would now take that 4x4 sigil, and I'm going to figure out what I'm actually trying to do. And then I'm going to make this sigil off of the 4x4 because it goes with the Jupiter sigil and with, everything that I'm trying to obtain. I will then create a sigil for that and possibly make that really into the talisman that I'm going to use, that maybe carry around with me, wear, or whatever it's for, or amulet or something. It could even be like, anything, like even a root bottle or something like that, stuff with herbs and incense in it, or a satchel. But yeah, that's how I would probably normally use it. Long story short. And again, who made them? It originally came Arabic compilers and practitioners kind of came up with it in the past, and then Heinrich Cornelius Agrippa popularized it, and then you start seeing what I'm showing you here, which I can go through. Those start popping up around the 16th and 8th, between the 16th and 18th century, in kind of like in European areas. So, and then of course the British Museum has a few if you like to take a look at them. They always got it. But then again, and again, just real quick, the grimoires, the planets equal offices, and each office has 3 faces. The planet, Jupiter, that's why you have one sigil. The intelligence, that's the angelic governor. And then the spirit, that is like the wild planetary power, what you would normally constrain in the Goetia. And then just again, real quick, you could inscribe Jupiter's table and seals, time the work to Jupiter's day and hour, which would be Thursday. Sometimes some people might say sunrise hour is best. And then I would petition Jaffiel, maybe with psalms and divine names, or, whatever. And then I would, try to do whatever I'm trying to do. And that's kind of like, names and number and time conform the operating planetary table that you will find like in the Picatrix and Agrippa. Basically what I just said, that's exactly how they're pretty much telling you to do it. And then, like, again, I guess after you do that, it can be used as a talisman or whatever. So, yeah, that's it out of me. I'll show you some of the other images, though. I have one that's completely in Hebrew. Well, this is one. I think that is interesting. And it does have, again, the Jupiter sigil up there as well. The 4x4 that would go with it. That's Mercury. That's interesting. But Mercury is also Jupiter would be a hierarchy.
Angel.
Yeah.
Angel of Jupiter, right? So they say in the Orphic hymn to Mercury, they call him the loosener and the source of gain. I really like that imagery. So he's not only the one that is loosening the satchel around your belt and dropping coins all over the floor, he's also the guy who's giving those coins to the next guy in line who's going to pick them up. So he's the loosener and the source of gain.
One thing too that is also just to mention that I've noticed even in my own practices, Jupiter and Mercury tend to like really work well together. There's a lot of things that Mercury could be good for, like, writing or intelligence or speech, a little bit of business, and then Jupiter can be good for like abundance. So I mean, you could even be trying to like abundance of intelligence, abundance of knowledge, speech, or abundance of money, of course. But they do tend to, which I'm wondering why if you have both on there, because I mean technically, like I said, Jupiter is looked at Mercury as a higher arc in the occult sometimes, but they both work well. Like I know a lot of people just use them together because they just really work well together. So it's interesting to see something like this. I'm wondering if it's just a known thing that they can work well together depending on what you're working with. And then this is another
version.
version.
For abundance, if you're asking for abundance, Mercury's going to be the guy to get it to you. So it's like this is the delivery guy for the abundance that you want. So
yeah. Well, exactly. Yeah, he's coming down from Jupiter and handing it to you.
Right.
This is it in Hebrew. It may look like there's more than 4 lines in there, but there's like a little. It's the 4x4 square, but just in Hebrew, and signs and sigil, like other things added into it. But it is considered the 4x4 square in Hebrew. And then I had this one again.
Now, are these the same every time, or do they change based off of what your needs are in this magical
Uh,
system?
yeah, I would say for some people they would probably, my opinion, yeah, you could change um that stuff. Like for me, sometimes I would like I may only have just like one of the sigils really. Like sometimes I would with certain things, angels that I did work with oftenly, I would actually get like a wooden disc from like Michael's or fucking Hobby Lobby. And I had a wood engraver and burner, and I would literally, draw the shit on there and I'd burn on it. It just to me it was more it's magical or more like I was really putting my intent and really focusing. So I would reuse that. If it was something I was going to reuse often, I would just make one. So I don't have to keep on making these motherfuckers every time I want to. And I would leave less stuff on there and maybe get a little bit more detailed in other ways, depending on what I wanted to do. So, long story short, I can see other people, yes, changing what's around it, depending on if you want to get very specific on certain things. I would think so.
Right. And the characters inside of those squares, those are going to be adding up to the gematria on the different lines and the different directions with the numbers that you're trying to use to invoke Jupiter. Now, as we were going over on 777, there's a different frame of consciousness that Israel Regardi was talking about that comes along with gematria. So it's not just the numbers, there's also a different element of shifting consciousness. And that's a big part of magic as well. So
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
a lot of people
Who's
miss
to
out
say this
on that,
planetary square isn't something that's actually supposed to be like in a 3D form? You know what I'm saying? Like
right?
it's hard to explain, but yeah.
Well, in the case of, because Enochian magic is highly similar to the same sort of style as Solomonic magic, right? So you've got these four tablets, which represent the four kingdoms or the four elements, right? And then in the middle, you've got this cross. And on the cross, that's where you have the holy divine names of the upper ones. But in each one of those squares, you've got four different influences on each one of those squares. So each one of the quadrants are subdivided over and over and over again until you've got all of these angels and all of their different hierarchies filling up this one massive square. And then that's uh, been changed into cards, it's been changed into tables, it's been changed into a lot of other things. But that's the basic sort of map or geography of the different hierarchies within Enochian magic. It's very similar to the idea, but they shift it up a little bit. It's same methodology though. Well, I brought
Oh yeah.
this one.
About.
This one, right? Sabaoth. That's used
Yeah.
over and over again by Crowley.
Yeah.
This is the bornless one, right? So in the PGM, which is a mixture of Hebrew, Greek, and Egyptian forms of magic that were recorded into second century papyri, right? So they had this ritual called the bornless one, where this god shown here is considered the god above all other gods, right? In this PGM, you discover this guy, this bornless one, and apparently he's above everybody else, and there's no other reference to him in any other literature anywhere in the world. So that's sort of why I took the name Headless Giant, is because this is sort of like that bornless energy that, isn't really talked about in a lot of other locations, but apparently they referenced it heavily in the PGM. Here's a modernized version of it because, for some reason, magicians are the worst fucking artists. Like, with rare exceptions, like Austin Osman Spare,
Oh, I thought you were gonna
he's a
say
great
yourself.
artist.
I thought you were gonna say yourself.
Well, I'm not that great of an artist, but
Oh, what
Austin
about
Osman Spare, if you look up his work, it's just phenomenal, right? And he worked with a lot of chaos magic. But Crowley was a terrible,
oh,
terrible artist. But here's a updated form. And so you see the caduceus over here. You see this other, I think, I'm not sure what type of flower that is, but you can kind of see that flower in his hand over here. But all of this would be the formulation of how he's brought together. And, he's sort of larger than life. But again, you see the black sun right there at the headspace, which is
Yeah, I was wondering
interesting
if that's what
because
that was actually. That was my first thought, but I'm like, I always go there.
yeah, it's kind of weird, huh?
Yeah.
Like you see the similarity, folks. It's not a coincidence.
You know what's
But
interesting? Like to me, when you were saying the bornless one, I was even thinking like that reminds me of like the darkness, be like Ein Sof, you know, maybe like before Kether, like depending on how you're looking at it, you know, on the tree. But then and then if you something, I don't know, then when you start talking about the black sun, to me, that's like the space in between. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I was like, oh, maybe there's something there.
well, there's so much in that image that sort of like it brings to mind like the Titans, right? So this is a larger than life character. He's massive over top of the land, but almost nobody can see him, and he doesn't have a head. So it's almost like he's existing in the space of the unknown, right? So you don't know
Yeah.
where you're at or what's going on with it. It's sort of like it reminds me a lot of the Lovecraft demons, right? So this would be like an elder god of the Lovecraft sort of ilk. Instead of being one of the mad ones like Cthulhu and all the rest of the other ones, this would be sort of like the elder gods that slew them and put them underground, but still sort of a titanic concept. It says the Bornless Rite, also known as the preliminary invocation of the Goetia, that was on purpose. Again, they took that from the PGM. Um, originates from the Greco-Egyptian papyri Graecia Magicae, a collection of ancient spells compiled between the 2nd century BCE and the 5th century CE. It was initially used as an exorcism and healing, invoking the headless one, akephalos in Greek, to banish negative influences and purify the practitioner and the surroundings. The ritual original purpose was to exorcise a demon from another person by first calling on the akephalos and then assuming the form, effectively becoming the divine entity to perform the exorcism. Now, if you've been watching our shows about theurgy and Eleusinian mystery schools, you know that possession was a big part of that as well. So in the PGM, they're just openly saying, this is how you become possessed by this thing. The ritual, oh, here we go. Let me see. The reinterpretation transformed the ritual from an external exorcism into a form of self exorcism where the practitioner purifies their own being to become a vessel for the divine, facilitating the knowledge and conversation of the holy guardian angel. This adaptation became central to thelematic and hermetic practices, particularly within the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn and Crowley's Astrum Argentum. The ritual involves a series of invocations including the use of barbarous names, right? That's something you'll find in these magic books. You're not supposed to let it throw you off. Those are just sounds you're supposed to be making. Those are all that is. So, and just belt it out too. If you ever do them, just belt it out. You'll feel better after you do. They are nonsense syllables believed to hold power, declaration of divine authority, and a shift in perspective where the practitioner speaks as the divine entity itself. The text, formerly titled The Stele of the Hieroglyphist in his letter, includes references to Moses and the ceremonies of Israel, indicating Jewish influence, and employs names like Osiranophorus and Fa- Fapro, which some scholars link to Egyptian deities. The ritual concludes with a preliminary rite involving writing names on a piece of paper, extending it across the forehead while facing north, commanding the spirits to be obedient. Crowley expanded the ritual into Liber Samech, emphasizing the role in spiritual transformation and the attainment of ecstatic union with the divine. He recommended a rigorous schedule of daily practice over several months to achieve desired results. The ritual is now widely used in modern occult traditions for spiritual purification, self empowerment, and establishing the connection with one's own self or holy guardian angel ritual, HGA. So, what do you think on that, Dick?
I'm glad you brought it up because, like you were saying before, most people, I mean, well, that's weird. Like for me, I knew of the PGM, actually, that stuff. Like, so when I came across Crowley's, version, I was like, this sounds like really fucking familiar. And I eventually came across that. But I have used it myself before a long time ago. It's rather drawn out. I mean, not drawn out. It's just very long for somebody like I'm so anal. I didn't like really stuff on my altar, so I was going to have to memorize it. I didn't want to read shit. It's very long. So that was not one that I could memorize. So it was like something that I would have to read off. But for me, when I did use it, I would say it was almost very the feeling that I get from theurgy, like you were saying yourself. You know, it's something. It's what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know. I definitely kind of got something. I felt something from it. I don't know if it was because of the intentions. I don't know. Like for me, if I was going to do something long and drawn out like that, I better like make sure I'm really into what I want to do. So I probably am. But yeah, long story short, it was very close to like when I would do theurgy and I don't know how to explain it. It's like I would feel something within that felt good. You know what I'm saying? I felt that very close to it.
Now, were you working on the HGA, or was that not in your wheelhouse?
No. I mean, it was something I had thought about working towards, and like certain ways I like. I look back at it now, like there was like maybe times I was doing stuff that would be suggested to do, but I wasn't like trying to like actually think like, oh, this is what I'm doing. But no, it was definitely something that was. I mean, it's suggested. That's what I mean. In my opinion, if you're in ceremonial magic, especially if you're in like some sort of order, I would assume that like they're part of your deal is that you're supposed to come in contact with your holy guardian angel. So it was definitely something that I knew was going to have to be worked on at some point.
Right. It's a very long drawn out process, but if you're doing the head or the bornless rite every day as part of that at dawn, man, that's a lot of work, you know. But I think the at dawn part is the thing you need to take away from this stuff is because if you're trying to do these rituals, the best time of day to get it started is right at dawn. So if you're doing any sort of ritual or any kind of self-affirmation process, the dawn light is much more beneficial to you, body, mind, and spirit than pretty much any other time of day when you're doing the stuff. So get up really early, super early, and you'll actually see the auras. If you're sitting out there at dawn, just pay attention to your environment. You'll start to see auras a lot cleaner and a lot clearer if you're doing that sort of thing at dawn, if you're doing the aura viewing then. So give it a try, get out there. And I mean, look, that's when everything's happening anyway. The rest of your day is going to be predicated based off of the dawn. You've heard the saying, red sky in morning, sailors take warning, red sky at night, sailors delight.
Mm.
You could see everything you need to about the coming day and everything that's going to happen just by watching the dawn and paying attention to the patterns that you see there. You've also got augury, which is the study of the birds as they're flying in their murmurations, right? They actually have a special augury wand. I'll bring that next week. But they have a special augury wand that the Roman augury priests would use. It's like a big spiral thing. You'd love it, dude. But that's what they would use to help them tell the future based off of the birds. This is also where you get the auspices. But it's I think if you're going to do any sort of divination, any sort of magic, get up at dawn. That's the way to do it. I think pretty much always. So I've got a couple
Real
freaky
quick,
stories.
I just want to
Yeah.
mention this real quick. It's so funny because it's been so long ago. I totally fucking forgot about this. Now it's gonna sound like I'm making it up. I remember actually at one point, I don't think I have any of my old like magical books or books I was writing shit in. I know at one point I actually took phrases from Crowley's kind of version and the original. I might have used like maybe, I don't know, 8 lines or kind of the same idea. And I actually incorporated that into my own opening. But it was pulled from those. Because like to me, it was kind of like, I don't know. To me, it just makes sense. If you're trying to do something big, you would kind of open up with that. You know what I'm saying? So or for me, if I'm looking to make conscious contact with God, I got to put myself into the space to where I'm there.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it is again, it is an impressive piece of work, I think.
And we got a pan troglodyte in the chat there. So He's done a bunch of magic with this stuff. We got to get you back on again, Matt. It's always fun to have you on. But yeah, if you want to know about magic, there are people out there who know, but you might not know it at first,
Oh,
right? Keep that in mind.
oh, yo,
But
when I was in
we
the
got
yo, there was teachers, doctors, lawyers. There was people that, I would talk about how, like, some people, I myself, when I was younger, I had a certain look. People who are into the occult sometimes have a certain look, but there was people in there that you would just be like, wow, like you just walk through the door. You know, it's just like you look like you should be in church actually down the block. For real. Yeah. So it's you never know.
right, right. And one of the things is you can't erase their own personal experiences with magic. Like if they've seen something with it, they might not be the people you think they are. So a lot
Yeah.
of times that's
It's interesting too. A few of the people that actually looked completely fucking normal were also in the Temple of Set. So even think of that.
big surprise
I have
there.
no fucking idea. You're standing next to some dude that's in both those orders.
Well, if they're the Temple of Set, they've got to be associated with the DoD. They've got to be pretty straight laced because all the people in Temple of Set are DoD. Like it's bar none. They're all part of the Department of Defense. Well, I guess it's Department of War now, which now it's more appropriate for Set.
Oh, jeez.
So I got this email from Chris USA. Growing up at the time, I was unaware that my grandmother and great grandmother were into the craft. So we all saw things that was supernatural. Here's some stories that really stuck out to me and wanted to share. Growing up, I would see gnomes in my room from time to time. They would always be walking into my closet, and one day actually turned to me with an angry face for a split second and then proceeded to walk back in line into my closet. They don't like being seen. Gnomes are especially grumpy when you see them. I grew up with a my size Barbie, and I would always have nightmares of that doll. One day, when I was getting ready for school, the doll turned demonic and turned to me with a sinister look. I ran into the restroom to get my mom, and she was super freaked out. And we started yelling at me to stop lying. Shortly after that, we threw it. Shortly after that, we threw it in the dumpster. I swear, I would still feel that doll was around.
We threw it at the
Gotta look
dumpster.
out for this.
Fucking awesome.
Life-size dolls, those are the strangest ones there are. Like voodoo dolls, that's not very strange, but a life-size doll, that's a horse of a different color.
Yo, when I was a kid, I had like one of those. It was almost the same type of clown that was like from fucking Poltergeist. So how those long, lanky legs. That shit fucking creeped me the fuck out after I saw that movie. And the thing, I sat in a chair in my room, so I'd stare at it and be like, "This thing's gonna come to life like that movie." I stayed.
Wow. You remember the My Buddy dolls?
Yes, I had
They
one.
tried to sell dolls. Yeah, they tried to sell dolls to boys, and it was only one line. No, I guess they had those monster dolls as well as the wrestling dolls, right?
Oh, see,
So
I never
guess
had.
they've tried other.
Yeah.
Those are the best. You put them on the trampoline. Childhood. Anyways, it's known. So not that big of a deal, but I would see the man with the cowboy hat in our hallway. He would always stand there and seem to want to get my attention. Never said anything, but would just stand there and then walk away. Man with the cowboy. That kind of sounds like a shadow man type figure. I'm not sure what it consisted of, but you've got the bowler cap that's associated with the shadow man, kind of like that Magritte painting. And I've always found that funny.
Motherfucker from Georgia, for all you know.
Could be. That's when you got to check those cowboy hats. Make sure you know the color of the cowboy hat. But yeah. So what do you think? Pretty freaky stuff. I mean,
whose story was that? Somebody that we know? I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, that's her username is KRYSUSA. So she's commenting on some of our stuff.
Hell yeah, she told me she was going to send it in. That's right, I sent her stickers. That's right.
Awesome.
Yes. Awesome. Nice. That's awesome. I actually enjoyed that one.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was
with creepy dolls, like creepy stuffed animals. That shit freaked me out too as a kid.
That's the model. If you got a bunch of different stories and you don't want to just go on and on forever, just consolidate them all into one email and then we'll read them here and you will get stickers.
I'm starting to think I hated all of them actually, because I had like Raggedy Ann and Andy, and those motherfuckers creeped me out too. I don't know.
Yep.
Maybe it was just that movie Poltergeist. I just assumed everything in my room was going to come to life now that looked like a doll. I was like, you got to go. This isn't happening.
Right. Because, I mean, think about it. Dolls would be jealous of people to an extreme degree because you're ambulatory and then they get pissed off and then the energy builds up and then you have something fall over. So I think there is something to the idea that stuff that looks like another thing has a little piece of that thing as well. You know, it's some kind of a little spark of similarity that sort of imbues it with kind of a quasi life. You know, have you ever heard of the Philip experiments? I think we
I
talked about it.
remember the name. It probably could have been from you, but I honestly don't remember what it is. Enlighten me, please, sir.
Well, it was a group of Canadian occultists
Oh.
and atheists.
Canadian occultist.
Right. They had what they called the Philip experiments, where they did a séance to reach a person that never existed. Right. And they named him Philip, and they said that he's from the 1700s, and they planned his whole backstory out, and they wanted to contact a fictional character from the 1700s. And they tried for over a year to get in contact with this spirit that they just made up. Well, they sort of created this egregor, and they didn't really seal the deal. So they started making the séance room look like the 1700s as well, right? So they started decorating it differently. This goes straight back into ritual magic as well, right? If you're going to be contacting spirits that have affinity for certain colors and certain sounds and all the rest of the stuff, you better have those sounds around, because that's what's going to get their attention as well as get your own attention, right? There's multiple models of how magic works, but you better have the stuff that they're have an affinity with, because that's the best way to get their attention. So after they started decking this place out with all of this stuff from the 1700s, or what they thought was the Victorian era, that's when they got in contact with this fictional spirit. So they created him over a year of doing seances, and once they changed the decor, that's when they actually got in contact with him. But if you guys aren't aware, look up the Philip experiments, because you'd be shocked. I think it's Egregor creation or Tulpa creation.
Egregors. Huh.
You know what would be even weirder?
Times.
What's that?
He said you get a lot of those around election times.
Big time.
You get multiple ones all over the place.
It's when they dust off the old egregores. You know,
Yes.
I mean, how many different times has president said that he's going to make America great again?
Now this goes right back to our gematria. For all you know, it's the same fucking energetic value, just a different way of saying it over and over and over again. Like you said, you're just waking up the old one, just different way of saying it.
MAGA is just another way of saying magus or magician. You know, everybody freaks out that the highest level of the Temple of Set or Church of Satan has a MAGA as the person who's in charge or whatever, but it's just another word for magus or magician. And if you've got a guy who's sporting the MAGA, Make America Great Again, it has a crossover, it has a relevance, it has an association, right? This is what the Greeks were talking about when they were doing their association fields. It's what we're going to be talking about in this book as well.
Hell yeah.
When we do our 777. So these associations have a deeper value than what most people ascribe to them. And what we say is always like a conspiracy might actually be a coincidental, circumstance where the gods are showing you their fingers, right? So maybe conspiracy is just another word for fingers of God. You know, it's breathing together, inspiration, epiphany. All of these things have to do with bringing in the spirits. You know, conspire means to breathe together.
That was and again, even going by like what we're saying with like things equaling other stuff. That was something I was saying, I don't know, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. I think it might have been like with Gilgo Beach and some other reason why around that time I was working on gematria for something. I remember at that point, it was like I started thinking this because I was seeing why I was running this stuff. It was matching so many things that were also going on with Trump and Elon Musk. Certain phrases Mar-a-Lago constantly coming up. So like specific things to do with them. And I'm like, yo, why the fuck? What, like, this is really weird. Like, all these things are popular phrases are popular in the fucking news right now. It's all being repeated. I found that weird. I just wonder if
I
there's
think
behind that.
Well, I think in some ways, if you think about number as being the realm of the gods, then what you're doing is you're getting these messages that may be unrelated to the event that you're talking about as sort of like, hey, look, here's a way of decoding this. We're giving it to you in the form of numbers in this murder trial.
Yeah. Like,
it's
I remember
weird, but
covering something. That's when Mar-a-Lago, I think, was getting raided. So it was just like, it was Mar-a-Lago fucking constantly. And I was like, oh, this is just weird. This is actually being said right now, like constantly.
Right. And that was a big fiasco too, just like Gilgo Beach should have been. Like there's a lot of parallels between what was going on in Gilgo Beach and what was going on in the FBI at the time, because it was the Foxes investigating the hen house in both cases.
And he's like that, like another thing where these things pop up and then die out. Like Gilgo Beach, like technically, like you don't hear shit about that. Well, like what the hell's going on with that case? You're not hearing anything about it. But for one moment, it was like fucking just everywhere, and everything that matched it was on and popping. And now it's gone. It's weird. Maybe one hit wonders catch that shit.
So here's an idea: when you discover a new conspiracy using things like gematria or using these free associations, and you look into it and you start to find something, just say thank you, because that's somebody giving you information about something you have no idea about. So maybe being grateful about the new awareness and knowledge that you get is probably a good way of having it happen again.
Yes, that's a good point. Or being open to it more, not being closed, for sure.
Right. But that's what we need. I mean, we're a society in crisis, and we need more people who are open to this type of information so that they can help everybody else out. And it doesn't have to be schizo posting like I do all the time. It could be a lot more subtle and direct,
True. Or you can shit talk in code.
Shit talking in code is always fun. Hopefully the person you're shit talking knows about it, because then they can decode it and everybody else would be puzzled.
I've only done it 2 times, but there's been times where I have actually like either misspelled shit or I actually said specific words because of a post on Twitter. I've done that myself twice. It actually all matched something else. And it looked almost normal. So it can be done.
Nice. Well, thank you guys for joining us. This has been another Headless's Magical Mailbag. Get those emails over to me, headlessgiantpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get them on the show, and you will get your stickers. There's no downside.
That's right. 8 stickers.
All right. 8 stickers. All right, guys. We'll see you again next time.